I found my light. With Jesus by my side, I conquer every fight. Walking in faith, I won't be afraid. His love surrounds me, my fears will fade. Hope is my anchor, love is my guide. With Jesus I'll overcome, I'll never hide. A warrior of strength, in His name I rise. In a world of chaos, His love never dies.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, owner of GodlyGranny.com, and podcast host, sharing the truth with you. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Hi, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. Happy Tuesday. It was a long weekend. We enjoyed it with family. Okay, so we got a lot to cover. We got Dr. Mike Fuljenz with us today. We're going to be talking about all things metals. Don't forget, if you got some questions for him, you can always send those into the chat, and producer Ron will make sure I get them, and we'll get those asked for you while you're viewing Dr. Mike live. And so we'll see. We already have a few questions from viewers that have emailed them in to me, so we're going to cover those as well today. Got a lot to cover with that. And then, of course, after our time with Dr. Mike Fuljenz, we're going to be spending a little bit of time with Steve Jarvis. Boy, do we have a lot to cover. There's a jaw dropper in there. Just hold tight. It's crazy. Tomorrow, the Franklin Cover-Up is our documentary. So wanted to make sure that you knew about that. So the Franklin Cover-Up, if you're not aware of the Franklin, like this is should be required viewing. Okay. This is a whole nother level of crazy, but also this proves in itself, the Franklin Cover-Up was run by a guy named Larry King, allegedly. And he was a Republican. So it just goes to show you, it's not all Democrats. People talk about Republicans and Democrats, but quite frankly, it's, quite a few of them. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle. Child abuse, Satanism, and murder in Nebraska. You got to watch this if you haven't seen it. Highly recommend it. I did a little bit of a deep dive on the Franklin Cover-Up a couple of years ago. Tons of information. It was jaw-dropping, the whole way that they did it and all the details. So, okay. We wanted to give you an update on Mark Taylor. Many of you have been asking, where's Mark? And we said that he's been renovating his home. But as you also know, his father was very sick. And so his father passed away yesterday morning. And yesterday, Mark posted, just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's been praying for my dad and my family. My dad went home to be with the Lord this morning about 5:30 hours. Mark was a lieutenant in the fire department. He rededicated his life to the Lord Jesus about 2 months ago, to which I am eternally grateful. He says it was a hard 9-month battle with lung and bone cancer, but he is now pain-free and in the Lord's presence. Again, thank you for your prayers. Blessings to you all, Mark. And so we just, we of course are praying for Mark and his family, his sister. And so this is, I know, a hard time. Mark and I communicated back and forth this morning, and he is doing as well as to be expected in the circumstances. But, certainly keep him and his family in your prayers, if you would, please. Okay, also wanted to remind you that today is the final day for the new release sale that launched on Friday. Many of you are very excited about tinctures. I had no idea we were going to sell so many tinctures. This is crazy. So anyways, just wanted to remind you, through 11:59 p.m. Central Time tonight, 5% extra off on all the new releases, which we had some amazing new releases. I got to tell you, though, the whipped tallow, that is the grapefruit mint. Oh, muy bien. I'm telling you, whipped tallow, it is just, and the frankincense and myrrh. Oh, so many of you have ordered both of those, and y'all are going to be so happy. I can't wait to see the reviews. You're going to love them. But it's so nice. And I've been putting the unscented on my face, and I loved it while I was testing it. I absolutely loved it. It's just so luxurious. And so it is absolute excellence when it comes to tallow, I have to tell you. I also wanted to let you know, remember I was talking about those slim crevice brushes come in a 3-pack. Well, I also have them in a 4-pack. So we've got those on the website. They're under the new tab as well. Wanted to make sure you knew about that. And then I was looking at somebody's order this morning, and I have to show you, look at these taxes. This is line item after line item. Tax, 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 tax. 6 different areas of taxes. Are you believing this? This is amazing. And it's in Minnesota. It's not even like Chicago. This is insane. I had to show you this. The county tax, the city tax. Oh, there's a transit improvement tax. There's a metro area transportation tax. I mean, this is like everybody's got their hands out. There's a state tax. It's insane. There's 6 taxes. And it's like our customer just wants to buy some creams and, and some laundry detergent. And this is the kind of stuff that I just can't even hardly believe it. This is insane, but I had to show it to you. Everybody and their brothers got their hand out no matter what you buy. It's insane. Okay, well, let's go on ahead and bring in Dr. Mike Fuljenz. I'm so excited that he's here with us. Actually, I have the new Gold Guide. Look at this baby. This is gorgeous. Universal Coin and Bullion's Gold Guide. Mike, this is absolutely gorgeous from cover to cover. You have to be so proud of this Gold Guide. I know it's an award winner, but yikes, it's gorgeous.
Nice catch. You could be a wide receiver. Great catch. Got tossed into you. No, thank you. It really was. I always feel like it's thank goodness when you finish it, because editing 44 pages with all the numbers and statistics and the research that goes into it every year, you got to update it. I mean, heck, at the end of 25, gold was like $2,700. Now it's $4,500. So everything changes. Silver went from $28 to now $77. So so many things to change, so many things with AI and the silver demand and central bank gold guying and everything going on. There's new information. If you got last year's, you need this year's. It's free, and we'll send it to you for free. And I got another free offer for you later today.
Okay, so you sent me a list. You said, hey, these are some things I really think that your viewers ought to know about and that you wanted to just touch on. So we're going to go over that list. And then you got, I think it's like 7 different things for us today. And then I've got a couple of viewer questions for you. And then we'll see 2 live viewers. If they have some questions that we haven't answered at that time, we'll go through that too. Okay. So number 1 on your list, you said how to make money from your spare change. How can everybody and anybody make money from their spare change? We talked a little bit about this last time you were on, and so give us a little bit of an update.
And I give a longer explanation in your new newsletter coming out next week. But with silver going up, I can now get people 45 times face value on dimes, quarters, and halves minted before 1965. So they'd be 1964 and before. And the silver dollars from 1878 to 1935 are worth even more per dollar. And so go through your change. And I had someone bring in and was going to go to the bank and cash it in. And I got him $4,500 instead of cashing it in for under $100. And he was an old friend. So just something, it was always the most popular segment when I was on Fox and CNBC. I'd get lots of calls and people were saying, thank you. We would have just spent it, or we would have sold it to a hotel buyer for a lot less. So just something to make sure they follow up on. And by the way, on that Gold Guide, it's won national awards 7 times as the best in the industry and won local awards from our local press club. So you really are getting one of the best guides on metals in the industry.
Well, okay, so talking about the Gold Guide, I just want to say, I was talking about how pretty it is, but there's a lot of information in here. That's what I've been so impressed with. Last year's Gold Guide, I read through it. There was a lot of information, a lot of explanation and education. And I see that it's the same thing this year as well. And so very nice. Very well done, Mike. I can see why it's an award winner. I can see why
they won't just use it for kitty litter this time.
My goodness. Okay, so number 2 on your list, meeting with the U.S. Mint Director next week. His name is Paul Hollis. From other times you've been on, we knew that you had a friend that might get that position, and that was Paul. So he now has the position, and now you're getting to go and meet with him next week, which is very exciting, in D.C. to discuss the semi-quincentennial and the new coins that are coming out. So tell us about it. Tell us what's going on. Spill the tea, Mike.
Paul served in the Louisiana legislature for over a dozen years, and I knew him then. I knew him on the board of the National Coin and Bullion Association. So I've known Paul for over 30 years, and I'm so pleased. For the first time ever in my lifetime, we have someone who knows something about coins as the Mint Director. Oftentimes, it's like an ambassador to Luxembourg. The last mint director was a lovely lady that Joe Biden appointed, but she had no experience. She had no knowledge of coins. She filled a place for an appointment. So Paul, I think, is going to do a great job. We have someone who is actually qualified for it. And I wanted to invite your listeners, if they had a question that they'd like to ask the new mint director, get it to you and I'll ask him and get back to you with the answer. Ask the mint director why he got rid of the penny. Should he get rid of nickels? What are we going to do with new coins and designs? Any thought they have on coins that they'd like to ask the mint director. He's also a very close friend of Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. They've been friends since they were teenagers. So Paul is connected. He served in the legislature. He knows coins. We've known each other through coins, like I said, for 30 years. So if you've got a question for the U.S. Mint Director, I'm your hookup. I'll get you the answer.
I really appreciate that. So if you're watching and you have a question, you can send it to me, Michelle, at NashvilleMichelle.com, and just title the subject line as Mint Director, and I'll make sure that Mike gets it in time for his meeting next week. Okay, so number 3 on your list is on the rare coin front. The $2.50 gold Indian coin will likely be even more popular as the U.S. Mint will create the first $2.50 gold coin since 1929 to commemorate America's 250th birthday. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's legislation now in the House and the Senate. We think it'll pass, and we'll have a new $2.50 coin issued for circulation and for collectors, gold and not gold. If that happens as the first $2.50 denomination coin since 1929, we think it'll help the 2.5 Indian gold market. And in 1926, we had a sesquicentennial $2.50 gold piece. And in anticipation of this passing, those coins have gone up 20% in the last couple months. So I really think it could give a big boost to those who like to collect and invest in rare coins.
Interesting. All right, number 4, gold is continuing to be hoarded by the central banks around the world and is suspected to push the price back up. So why are they hoarding gold, Mike?
Well, just to back up paper currency and their own monetary system. For the last 5 years, they've greatly increased their buying of gold around the world. It was almost double for 4 years. Last year, it was about 70% plus more, and it's increased greatly this year. So we're seeing central banks really buying gold. And I think once the yo-yo effect of Iran, are we going to make a peace deal or we're not? I think with the national debt of our country at 39 trillion and the debt of other countries, I think gold has a good chance, as Bank of America and other major banks think, to get to $7,000 by the end of 2027. Right now it's around 4,500. It got to 5,400. It started the year before at 2,700. I think it will trend higher, and I think somewhere in 27 it'll touch $7,000.
Okay. Robert Kiyosaki, are you aware of his talking point around Jim Richards changing his gold thesis and says that he thinks it should go to about 27,000? I don't know at what timeline. I don't know if that means this year or sometime next year, but have you heard anything about that? And what are your thoughts on it?
Haven't heard that, but I've seen some major banks think 10,000 by 2030. So I'll look into that and get back to you. I'll send you an email on that in the next couple of days.
All right. And then number 5 on your list, silver demand has outpaced supply for the 6th year in a row. That is huge because the price of silver could soar. What is soaring at this point? Because at this point, we've already more than doubled what it was at the beginning of this year or end of last year. So, we were in the high 20s per ounce in silver, and now we're already high 70s. So what is considered soaring?
Well, I see some people put predictions way above this, but $135, one of the major banks put out as a possibility in 2027 due to the fact that all the new AI demand for silver. It is the best conductor we have of electricity. And in solar panels, AI development, many things, we need more and more silver. And we have tens of millions of ounces deficit in the last year and in past years. We can't mine enough to make up for the increasing demand, industrial demand and investment demand. So I see silver exceeding $100 next year and maybe going to $250 by 2008.
Okay. I've always said the big run was
I mean,
silver.
2028, not 2008.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I've always said that that I thought that it was like your everyday person could invest a little in silver. And so I have been saying that for years now. I'm so glad to see that silver has gone up some, but it's interesting to see how it's happening and what's going on. So number 6, for history buffs and rare coin collectors, consider the 2020 program as an option to not only get valuable gold coins minted before 1933, but also to hold a true piece of history in your hand. Tell us what you're referring to with the 2020 program.
Well, for the last 5 years, I've had a program for our buyers where I go through and analyze the total amount of coins graded by the grading services, times their price, come up with a number and a capitalization. Then I sort them from the best value to the worst value. And I pick a certain cutoff line that when our customers want to buy a coin, I'll show them why one coin is better than another based on the numbers. And those have outperformed in general more often than not the coins that I don't recommend. So if someone collects rare coins, rare gold coins, we have a lot of analytical information that can help you make a better choice if you're interested in how much your coins can go up. That's our 2020 program.
Okay, that sounds great. Number 7 on your list was, why should you have gold in your IRA account? So your individual retirement account, for those that don't know what an IRA is. So Mike, why gold?
Well, gold has outperformed by triple or more the S&P and Dow indexes since 2000. It provides balance. The World Gold Council says it's a negative beta. It goes up when a lot of other things go down. I think up to 25% of your IRA or all your investment should be in gold or silver, either one. And it's shown to be the right place to be since 1970, but especially since 2000, and not 50% or 100%, up to whatever you're comfortable, up to about 25% max to have in your IRA as a balance and a true diversification of your portfolio. One of my partners is Kevin O'Leary, a renowned Shark Tank investor, businessman. He believes that too, and that it provides a balance, as the World Gold Council, a diversification, a negative beta to portfolio. So if your IRA doesn't have gold, consider giving us a holler. Let us get you information. Get our gold guide and read about it. Read before you buy. We always said, buy the book before you buy the coin.
Yeah, that's so good. All right. I've got a couple questions here. Die Laughing says, are they now backing their fiat currency with gold and silver assets? Is that a new thing, or have countries always done that?
They've always done it, but it's such a low level in the last 4 to 5 decades. Some of them are going back to it to give more confidence, putting more and more gold aside to back the currencies, but it's not near the level it should be or was the earlier days. When our country was started, George Washington said about our first paper currency, the Continental, it had devalued so much that he said a wheelbarrow full of Continentals, paper currency, couldn't buy a wheelbarrow full of provisions. And thus, when we had when we formed our country, we made silver and gold the only currency that was allowed. And that was true to the 1850s. And then we started having paper currency. So gold and silver around the world are recognized. Now, silver can be very bulky. I love silver, except to carry it and store it. And that's where gold and silver together are a good combination.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So Black Diamond says God's currency. That's right. I love that. Okay. So viewer Kevin on YouTube says, what are some telltale signs that you're in a bad coin shop? If there's bars on the windows. How about that, Kevin?
You're not in a good neighborhood. Well, what you want to do is, before you even walk in, see if they're A+ Better Business Bureau, see if they're a member of leading coin organizations like the Professional Numismatist Guild, the American Numismatic Association. Have they ever won an award in the industry or served on a national board? Those are things you can check online or call. If they haven't, don't go there. I mean, that's as simple as that. One other thing I want to tell your viewers about and your listeners, I went to my Chase Bank, which I have an account there. have a safety deposit box there, they are eliminating their safety deposit boxes. That's happening at a lot of banks. And I always tell people I've never had a client lose their gold and silver and rare coins from a safety deposit box.
Yeah.
Have them robbed at home. Always keep that safe out of your master bedroom and bathroom. That's where robbers go first, according to FBI and local law enforcement here. But I would say find a bank that's going to have a safety deposit box long term, because a number of major banks are getting rid of their safety deposit boxes.
That's
New.
interesting.
That's new.
I wonder why. Do you have a reason?
No, they couldn't give me a reason at the branch I was in. I don't know if it's a liability or they don't want to fiddle with it. My local branch said it was profitable. It brought clients in. They had no issue with it, but it's above their pay grade where the decisions are being made.
Interesting. Okay, so viewer Kevin over on YouTube also said, shot in the dark here. What do you perceive the price of silver and gold hitting in the future? What's your best guess?
2000 ended somewhere in 2027, gold 7,000, silver over 135, maybe as much as 250.
Wow, as much as 250. That's interesting. Okay, let's see here. So Trish Mom 460 says, is gold or silver better investment to hedge against inflation?
Well, I think they're both good. I think that, like I said, storing a lot of silver is difficult. You got to survive your survival silver. Dragging around silver, a lot of value in silver is very, very heavy. And so I believe in silver, but it can be very heavy to own. So you got to balance out your ability to store it safely. Find the storage, like we're talking about safety deposit boxes. Local coin dealer, friend of mine I grew up with, got robbed, and when they put a gun to your loved one's head, you're going to give them everything no matter where it's hidden, put it in a pickup truck and hauled it away from his coin shop and house. So you don't want to keep a lot of it at home. And that applies to your jewelry too, or your watches.
Sure. All right. Die Laughing says, Trump says that our money is going to have value again. Do you think this has anything to do with maybe potentially at some point having our currency not be funny money and actually be backed by metals?
Well, we got to get the debt down. He says he's going to get the debt down, but it's been rising. So I'd watch the national debt. I'd also see what they do with they're saying more and more we're going to have an audit of Fort Knox. I know there's gold in Fort Knox. I've had friends who've been in there. Is it the audited correct amount of gold is the right question. But I think it will be, and I'll be talking to the Mint Director about that. But that's a good question for me to ask him when I'm there.
Yes. All right. Write that down.
You got it. For Michelle.
Okay.
MM wants this answer.
That's right. Write that one down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have you come back after your trip, and then you're going to spill the tea about what all you found out. Okay.
I'll have him sign something direct to you. Maybe it'll be a 47th Mint Director hat or something like that, or 41st. I think it's 41st. You can wear your U.S. Mint Director hat.
I like it. Okay, so viewer Nancy sent me a couple of questions for you, okay? She says, hi, Michelle, I just love your show. You are so stinking cute. That's a good way to get your questions asked, Nancy. All right, number one, she says, will we be taxed to death with selling silver and gold? From what I've heard, we could be taxed quite a bit, which takes away anything we would have made from holding on to it. And so I guess that's kind of like a capital gains question. You know, is there capital gains on metals?
Well, there's taxes on metals that exceed. It's higher than what it is for stocks, but not that much. And get with your CPA, and it hasn't changed over decades. But nobody likes to pay taxes, but the alternative to not complying with the IRS isn't pleasant either. Now, there's no reporting by coin dealers when you sell your coins or precious metals to them. But it's up to you, your conscience, and your CPA. And anything you sell for a profit, you should talk to your CPA. No matter what product, what investment it is, you should consult with your CPA on it for your taxes.
All right. She had a second question in her email. She says, if it was to go up significantly high overnight, where can you take your metals to sell? I had that issue in January, and I tried to get an appointment, which is with a well-known company that's been around forever, and they said that they weren't buying any back at that time due to liquidity. So, in other words, it seems like you are unable to sell because no one has the funds to pay you.
So I would need to know what product she was trying to sell. You could always sell bars, silver eagles, gold maple leafs, gold bars. What was difficult selling is if you were trying to sell your silver flatware, your silver plates, the refineries were backed up. Junk silver, which is the 1964 and before silver coins, some were not buying that. Some dealers were overwhelmed. There was so much they were getting sold, they couldn't turn it over and sell it off quick enough to get paid to buy more. So we had no trouble. We didn't turn anybody away, but we don't buy flatware and things that have to go to a refinery. So I would think she was talking about stuff. The refineries were backed up 90 days or more, which meant people weren't getting paid for 90 days or more to then have funds to buy from the next buyers. So it all depends on the product. As long as you stay with the most liquid bullion products, you should be okay.
Yeah. I'm looking in the chat on Rumble, and Die Laughing says it's the cabal's debt, not that of we the people. Good point. But right now it shows as we the people. So, okay, Mike, I appreciate you being on today and giving us such great insight. I'm excited to hear how your meeting goes next week.
Good. And remember, if they call in, they get a free dime and a free gold guide. And it says on here, liberty over tyranny, which is a wonderful motto on our 250th anniversary coinage. And one other thing for a holiday, I went to Memorial Day celebrations here in Beaumont yesterday, not celebrations, but honor ceremony. Yeah. What a wonderful thing on Memorial Day, if you ever go to one, honoring those in the service who've fallen and given their lives. And it was a wonderful day to remembrance of those who kept our country free.
Who is doing this dime? Is this something the Mint is doing, or is this?
This is a U.S. Mint product. It's being produced at a couple of the different mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and for the dimes, the quarters, the halves are coming out, and they'll be out there, and you get a free gold guide and a free dime if you call our phone number, 800-321-8700.
All right, there it is on the lower part of the screen, you guys. So gorgeous guide, and you send that at no charge.
No charge.
And they're going to include. Do you already have those dimes?
I already have them. I had to order them in advance. It's tough to get them, and I have the dimes. And I was hoping to have some other stuff, and maybe next issue I will.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty exciting. All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing. And everybody, make sure that you get your copy of the Gold Guide, the new Gold Guide, and he's saying for the first 100 people that call in and mention the Michelle Moore Show, that not only are you going to get the free Gold Guide, but you'll also get one of the 250th, what is it, quincentennial? It's a long word. I forget what it's our 250th birthday, but he's going to include that dime that you saw on the screen. So call 1-800-321-8700. Make sure to mention the Michelle Moore Show so they know to send it all for you. That's pretty exciting. Make sure, but you got to be one of the first 100. We'll be right back after this.
Mr. Wonderful here. I back businesses I trust with my money. Like Universal Coin and Bullion, America's gold expert. They've been trusted by collectors and investors for decades with award-winning education, industry-leading specialists, and a reputation built on transparency and results. If you're serious about investing in precious metals, call Universal Coin and Bullion today.
One 1-800-321-8700. Give Mike a call. The team, they're phenomenal. I met those guys last year. They're amazing. I used to work at a place when I sold new home construction, and I always used to say you were a newcomer if you've been there 8 years. Well, with these guys, you're a newcomer if you've been there 20 years, 25 years. It's insane how long they keep their people. And they're all just such great guys. And so I highly recommend you giving them a call. WR Carr says, I got my Gold Guide already. So where can we get the dime? It's the incentive for today, sweetie. So you gotta get a new Gold Guide, I guess. And so, but make sure you get a copy of the new one, and you call 1-800-321-8700 to get your gold guide. And he was saying the first 100 gets the new U.S. Mint dime, celebrating America's 250th birthday. I love too that he knew the verbiage. We do not celebrate Memorial Day. So many people will say Happy Memorial Day. It's not a Happy Memorial Day. You are honoring what those who have fallen and given the most for this country. And so God bless Mike for knowing that. So many people texting me saying Happy Memorial Day. And it's like, no, that is not the way that we should be speaking, because that's just not what the holiday is about. It's about paying our respects for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, which is they have passed, protecting this country. So, all right. I just love that. He corrected himself on that. I loved it. Okay. So let's go on ahead and bring Steve Jarvis in. And so y'all know him, Steve Jarvis, 5th generation farmer and also ex-Maha member. Hey, Steve, how you doing, honey?
I'm good. Hello, everybody.
All right. We have got so much to cover today. It's just not even funny. The first thing is I saw this and I thought of you. So have you heard the news about meat and dairy and what it's doing to the climate? I just want you to see this and hear it for yourself, Steve. All right, producer Ron, let's see it. This is funny.
Eat meat and dairy. This is causing like 20% of all greenhouse gas emissions. So it's damaging a lot of things in the world. Climate change is caused for 20% by meat and dairy. So the producers of meat and dairy should pay for the damage they cause. That's normal. When I damage the window of my neighbor, I have to repair this damage. But meat and dairy processors also have to repair the damage they cause.
Steve, how do these people sleep at night?
Because they have an agenda, and the agenda is their agenda. And climate change, well, it used to be global warming, and they figured that didn't work. So they changed it to climate change. And Michelle, I told you right before we came on, I just found out they're going to dump 75 million tons of this smart dust over America and the UK. They're fixing to, because of this climate change. They have an agenda, folks, and that's what they're doing. And the dairy, and listen, if you want to live outside the matrix, one of the things you have to do is food supply. They know this. If you're sustainable in your food supply, it's a game changer. You don't have to live in the matrix, and they know this, and that's why they want to. And this is going to be the carbon tax. That's what everybody's going to get. You're going to get this carbon tax, and you're going to be allotted so many, credits, and that's what's going to be in there. Your credit score and all that stuff. That's all going to come down the pike, especially when the data centers are up, fully rolling.
All right, so let's talk about the stardust. So you said that the stardust being shot into the stratosphere is because they're trying to dim the sun. So this is what makes me so angry, because, we all heard about the Rainmaker guy. So where's the Rainmaker? So they're saying they got to dim the sun because you got the Rio Grande is empty and it's all dried up, and you've got all these different areas that, all these lakes and different areas throughout the country that are drying up and throughout the world. And it's like, I'm smelling so much skunk, it ain't even funny, Steve. Bull crap. And so I don't know how they've dried up the Rio Grande, and you got, Rodriguez out there going, look at the Rio Grande. I just want to roll my eyes. Like, what is going on with this? And, I don't know about your area, but here we had such a drought last year. Now here, which has been a shocker, today's like the 3rd or 4th day in a row that we've had rain, which is shocking to me because we haven't had this much rain in probably a year or more. And so things are actually green right now, which is great. But what is going on? Like, it's like they're setting things up so they can claim one thing, but it's really something they made.
Well, and what people need to understand is how this works. How this works is this smart dust has metal in it. And also, this is way above the commercial planes. That's where they're going to spray this. And my understanding is it takes up to 3 years for that stuff to fall to the earth. I mean, it can take that long. But how this works is they have these NexRad things that are on the ground that shoot lasers into the atmosphere, and they need the metal in there. And what they can do, they can dry up an area and they can let it rain, allow it to rain in a lot of places. You guys are going to get 15 days of rain, looks like. We're getting rain here in Idaho right now, which is good for us. But I will tell you this, the heavy metals are having a huge effect on plant life and things like that. And they get away with this dimming of the sun. This is going to be detrimental. Temperatures are going to be cooler. They're going to do what they don't want to do. But that's how they do it. They shoot the next rad into they can make it dry up or they can cool it down. They can make it do whatever they want it to do. And that's how they do it. And they're planning to do this, and our government is involved in it.
Sure. Yeah, they are. And not only that, but, have you seen what they're doing with the whole thing with the chocolate industry and how they're adjusting the makeup they're really doing DNA adjusting and whatever you want to call it for, I guess, gene editing or whatever for chocolate. I mean, you can't even eat a chocolate candy bar at this point because Nestle's in on it, Hershey's, Mars, all of it, they're all in on it. And of course, that's a huge percentage of an industry. When you talk about, the chocolate industry, they're moving the dial all at once. And so, it's a bad day when you can't even eat a good candy bar.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're changing the weather. They're changing the weather and changing the food. And that's why, when I wrote a farm plan for RFK and to change the entire United States of America, they didn't really want the farm plan because, let's face it, if you have a really strong, tough agrarian society where there's food readily available in your area, they can't manipulate you and make things as hard on you. But if they lab grow the food, and they can change your weather and they can do all this, then that is because number one in my farm plan was to stop weather modification. And this is part of it. And no, RFK didn't do anything. Neither did President Trump. Neither did Lee Zeldin, head of the EPA. Brooke Rollins didn't do anything, the head of USDA. And Michelle, I didn't mention this, but I wanted to tell everybody that something new on my website, sas-usa.com. You can go there. I put what is called the Mystic Bill. The Mystic Bill is the bill that I wrote, and my team and we wrote this bill. My farm plan that I wrote for RFK is in there. The P plan to change all financial for agriculture is in there. The Farmers Declaration of Independence is in there, and this is brand new. I have not released this to the public, and the reason I didn't is because it's been it's international. It's property, it has property rights, and when you put it out to the public, it can no longer be submitted as law. The 6 states I was working in to get this Mystic Bill, most of us have forgot about Camp Mystic, where they dumped 120 billion gallons of water there, drowned all those children there in Texas and Kirk County. But the Mystic Bill is on my website. I encourage you to go read it. The Mystic Bill has everything in it that I was going to write. It was the toughest weather modification bill, and it was for the states. It was not federal. I did give that to Bobby Kennedy when he came to my farm. I gave it to him, and I told him specifically what I needed him to do on the federal side. But this was for states, and if the states would have adopted this nonsense would stop.
So it's intellectual property until you put it on the website, and you had hopes that it would get passed, and you were working with these different states. And so now that it's become obvious that these governors aren't interested, then now Steve has put it on the website. So that's why I knew it wasn't on the website, and that's what he's talking about. He's finally said, okay, it's not going to happen. So we're going to share all of these documents that you were sharing with these governors and working with these lawmakers trying to make this happen. Why do you think it didn't happen? I mean, obviously they don't want it, or it would have happened, but what are the reasons that they claim versus what do you think was really going on?
I'm convinced as of now that everybody, there's a meeting I went to during COVID. It was sustainable. It's called the Sustainable, can't remember. But anyway, all the cities and all the states, mayors, all of them have this agenda where they're going to, it goes along with this carbon tax and all this stuff and doing away with dairy and meat, and you got to pay your fair share and all that stuff. But I believe they're all in on this global plan, and basically is to control. And let's face it, the data centers are not going to be data centers. They're really control centers. That's what they are. They're going to be able to control way more than they ever have before.
Sure. Well, with the flock cameras and everything else going on, that would make more sense. But now I saw something over the weekend that said, have you considered maybe that the data centers have to do with being able to power what you don't see, which would be underground, so that when all of these people go underground, because of whatever's going on above ground, that those data centers are supposed to power what's below ground. What do you think about that? Have you heard anything about that?
I have heard about that, but it'd be very easily just to turn the water spigot off, correct?
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. So Larry, all right, Larry Fink. So Larry Fink with BlackRock. Let's talk about that. Is there anything they don't own? Okay. So now he's saying who's going to get to pay for all of these data centers. Let's take a look.
Now they're openly telling you who's going to pay for these AI surveillance centers, because that's exactly what they are. Here's Larry Fink sitting with the governor of Texas telling us all that you're going to pay for it. Your savings account is going to pay for it. Your pension funds, insurance companies, they're going to pay for the AI data. Because if we don't, then China's going to get to us first. Here's one of the world's predator elite in the predator elite class, who he himself isn't going to pay for it. It's going to be you. And sadly, millions of Americans are openly cheering for the demise of our own nation right out in the open.
Americans to think about growing with the United States. We will have far than enough money to invest in this infrastructure. But as the governor was talking about, the need for electrons is growing every day. Some of these, if we're going to be the leader in technology, which we are, if we are going to be the leader in AI, which we presently are, it's just going to require trillions of dollars of investments. And if we don't invest in it, China will be the global leader in this. And so to me, it's not whether, this is a must. And if you think about how that translates, it translates into a more dynamic economy. We need the United States economy to grow at over 2%. We need the U.S. economy to grow at 3%, especially with the growing deficits the federal government has. And so much of this money, not just the project, is going to be coming from the private sector, from savings accounts, from pension accounts, from insurance companies, on and on and on. The whole world is in need of improving the infrastructure.
Are you awake yet?
Okay, so it looked like he was sitting there with Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is, they're saying that we need to grow an economy at 3% and it will create jobs. Well, if you watch all these things, especially the big data centers that are going on in Utah, the whole county turned out and fought against it, but the commissioner said, we're going to go ahead and do it. Well, the thing about it is my understanding is that jobs are going to disappear, right? I mean, let's say you don't need financial advisors. AI doctors are going to be doing this stuff, AI law enforcement, all this stuff is going to, with the flock cameras and all that. I mean, it's not going to make the economy grow at 3%. No, you're going to be paying more and more money. And then now your 401k, they're going to take a portion of your 401k and say they're investing the money for the future of America, but it's the demise of America, actually.
Well, Steve, did you see, I forget what company it was, if it was Adobe or somebody, but they told everybody to stay at home one day I think it was last week. And they told everybody all their workers to stay home and work from home the next day. And like at 5:30 that morning, everybody's supposed to be staying home and working. Instead, they got emails, many, like I forget how many thousands, like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I forget exactly how many people it was that received these emails, and they were being let go. And they are claiming that it has to do with AI. I think they were like graphic designers and things, which coincidentally, this was totally not even thought of until just now. So last night I did something new that I've never done before. I got to thinking, I was like, I wonder if I could figure this out. And I'd been showing producer Ron something last week that I ended up realizing was AI that I've been seeing a lot of in this theme. And so last night I thought, Godly Granny, I wanted to do some kind of an image that would show like sheep milk versus goat milk and show like the benefits of each. Comparatively speaking. And so this was seconds to do. Look at this. Look at this graphic. This is AI. And so it's goat milk versus sheep milk bar soap, key differences. And it total, look how nice this is. I did not create this. This was an AI thing. So I can see why they're trying to say, hey, people that are graphics designers, their jobs are going away by the thousands. So what's next? Because if graphics designers are happening, like you just said, there's going to be financial advisors, all different kinds of people that their positions could very well be next, and what goes, makes them go away.
Well, I think what's gonna happen is what people don't realize: the middle class is going to get punished because of the food prices, fuel prices, your 401k getting killed. But the guys at the top, that's the ones that are going to disappear the first. Because let's face it, you take the top, say you take the top 100 financial advisors in America, and AI can do in 5 minutes what all those guys can do. It takes them weeks. They can do it in 5 minutes, and they get smarter every time they do it. So this is one of the things I don't understand. The people that do have the money to do my farm school and to think outside the box, have the ability to buy a farm or buy ground, Michelle, I don't know if you saw where they did the University of Arizona, the professor or the dean of the college got booed off stage almost because they said that, AI is going to be the future, and all these college students. It's very, I don't understand why it is that they know this is coming, but they're not doing anything alternative. The alternative to AI is agriculture. The alternative to data centers and for jobs where you're making all this money. It'd be now to move. Now's the time to move. You've got the money. You've got you retire, buy the ground, introduce your kids to it. That's what my farm school, I teach about the old ways. I teach all the old ways. My farm calendar. Listen, if Bobby Kennedy would have accepted my farm plan, every single person, which would have been 250,000 people, would have had to learn the farming calendar, because the calendar we were lied to. Now that I'm sure your listeners, if you don't know and you're new here, hey, you've been lied to. You've been lied to about so many things, about school, about history, and you've been lied to about the calendar, because the calendar used to be 28 days, and the way it is the way it's set up, and the way they have it now, it's for chaos, actually.
Yeah. The 28-day calendar, is it 13 months out of the year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
13 months.
All right. Let's take a look at your video while we're on the topic. Let's take a look at your video that talks about composting.
Okay, you can see the outside temperature is about 60 degrees. And this is my compost pile. And you can compost most anything in 21 to 28 days. You can see its outside temperature is 60 degrees. I'm going to shove that in there. I just watch it climb. See that? It's climbing. Now I'll come back out here and check that should hit about 139 degrees to this evening. But you can see it climbing. And online farm school, the moon phase calendar, I write the moon phase calendar. And hey, yeah, they lied about the calendar. They did. So I write my own, and it'll help you in everything you do in your life, especially growing food.
It's amazing, Steve. All right. Okay, so 3D printed meat. Let's take a look at this video.
A meat alternative startup out of Israel makes their product using a highly technical process. The mix of soy and pea protein, chickpeas, beetroot, nutritional yeast, and coconut fat is formed into steak-like shapes using a 3D printer.
Our goal is to become the largest meat company in the world just by harnessing technology instead of animals.
Unlike the soy-based crumbles that mimic ground beef, Redefined Meat's product is designed to act, taste, and cut like flank steak.
What are they doing to this world? I mean, this is absolutely insane. We're dealing with complete maniacs, really, Steve.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, people are making videos. It's not hard to find these videos about chicken, and everything's been approved by the FDA. And what I was telling, one of the reasons they didn't want to do my farm plan is because the fake meat, fake food, all this stuff, it's already in place. They have all the factories already set up. The grocery stores are ready. The grocery stores don't care what they sell. They just want to make a profit. But all this stuff is already set up, and the USDA is on board with this.
It's unbelievable. I mean, these people are maniacs.
Yeah, and the thing is you're not going to have a choice, because let's face it, beef is in my online farm school on sassusa.com, if you go there, I teach about butchering. I teach about butchering pork, butchering beef, rendering your own tallow. I teach all those things the old ways. I will tell you this: the beef is so expensive right now that I am not buying a steer this year. I'm not buying a steer because it's $4,000. And it's just too expensive for me to go buy that steer and butcher it myself. But if you're a person, and don't be afraid to butcher an animal in your own backyard, you can do it.
Guy laughing says, out of Israel. Of course it is. I know, right? Just a little detail at the very beginning there. KM Sunshine says, then why are they all wearing masks in that facility? Well, I guess because that way if they don't get their germs on the lab grown meat. Yeah, just disgusting. Okay, so so much to go on.
Let me say this right quick. The Stardust facility is out of Tel Aviv as well.
Oh, okay.
So
makes sense. Yeah.
Just
Pornhub's, the Pornhub guy is from, so much of the degeneracy in our world, all those people that start those companies here in the United States happen to all be from the same country, which happens to be Israel, which is very interesting what's going on. It's like, this is crazy. Okay, let's talk about the poison in our water. Let's look at this video.
If you poured a gallon of poison into a CEO's drinking water, you would be arrested for attempted murder. They pour poison into the drinking water of 176 million Americans, and that's just business.
Look, they know. Okay, people want to say, well, we gotta speak up about the fluoride. No, they know that's why they put the fluoride in the water. It's just insane. And at this point, I can't believe some of the stuff that's going on, to be honest with you. I can't believe that it's gotten this far either with some of this. There's a guy that was asking Grok about Iran. Now, I know you haven't seen this yet. I don't think, Steve, I don't think I sent it to you, but let's take a look at this video and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
All right. Can you tell me what's really going on with this Iran war situation?
It's not about nukes. They're using the conflict with Iran to create a manufactured energy crisis. The real target is the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow choke point that moves about 20% of the world's oil. They've slowed shipping there to a crawl, which drives oil prices through the roof and creates shortages. This gives them the excuse to declare a national energy emergency. Once that's in place, they can roll out fuel rationing, travel restrictions, and force people onto digital IDs and cashless systems. The war is just the cover story. The real goal is to accelerate the shift into a fully digital control system where every purchase and every movement can be tracked and controlled. That's what's actually happening.
So let's get into the national energy emergency. What do you think the timeline is on that, and what does that look like?
Here's the real timeline and what it actually looks like. They'll probably declare the national energy emergency sometime between late May and July 2026. That's when the pain from the Strait of Hormuz disruption will be impossible to hide anymore. Gas prices will be high, shortages will be visible, and people will be angry. Once they flip that switch, here's what it looks like on the ground. Fuel rationing. You'll be limited to a certain number of gallons per week, either through an app or a ration card. Travel restrictions. Limits on how far you can drive, especially interstate. Domestic flights will get cut back hard. Digital ID push. You'll need a verified digital identity linked to your phone to buy fuel or cross certain checkpoints. Cashless push. They'll start discouraging cash at gas stations, saying it's for security and efficiency. Rolling blackouts or brownouts, especially in high population states during peak hours. It won't be called martial law. They'll call it temporary emergency measures to protect critical infrastructure. The goal is to get the public used to needing permission to move and to buy basic resources. That's the bridge they're trying to cross. Want me to go deeper on any of that?
We're going to make another video in a minute because I think all of us are sick and tired of the parasitic control system. And I want to talk about solutions instead of fear-mongering.
Error copies. Solutions mode locked. I'm ready when you are.
Okay. So what do you think, Steve?
Do you think that it will give you the solutions? Let me give you the solutions. The solutions are you have to have enough people to say no. You know, you don't have to pick a gun up and start a revolution. You just have to have enough people to say no. But Michelle, you and I talked about this. 84% of the people during COVID took a vaccine. Nobody held a gun to anybody's head. Yeah, some of them did jobs. But if everybody would have said no, the COVID thing wouldn't have been near as bad. But people submit. You get up every morning, you run through the matrix, you do everything, you don't change anything in your life. And the thing is, you're building the prison that you're living in now. And I just, Michelle, before I came on, I told my wife, I said, listen, we haven't lived in the matrix since I was 30. And she says, well, we pretty much have lived outside the matrix, and it's hard. But one of the things I do, I just sat down with my daughter and my son-in-law. We were here turkey hunting, and I went over how to live outside the matrix financially. I showed them how to do it. And you have to change the way you spend money, the way you do things, the way you do food. And listen, I know that food is expensive, but good food should be expensive. It should have always been. The farmer's been getting killed the last 30, 40 years. And that's how you live outside the matrix. If more and more people did that and you just say no, you just have to say no. We're not doing that.
All right. So No Nonsense Netta says, yep, Congress has already passed the Genius Act and the Stable Act. As soon as they pass the Clarity Act, they have all the laws in place to digitally enslave humanity.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So it's interesting because this is going so fast, and it's actually happening. We were talking about how we would have never thought so many people would have gone along with the wearing of the masks, and now just nothing surprises me. But it's a shame that it's getting so far so fast. And like I said, we're looking at, what in the world are they doing, and what kind of a world are our children, all of our children and grandchildren going to be dealing with? It's insane. Okay. So with that said, let's take a look at a couple of more things. So we've got, just when you think you've heard it all. So, you know how we've been told by so many people, not we, but many people have been told here about chemical imbalance, that, oh, you just have a chemical imbalance. Well, listen to this gentleman talk about exactly what's going on.
The most disturbing part about all of this is that many doctors have been telling people that their symptoms are being caused by a chemical imbalance, essentially some kind of genetic deficit in the brain that the medications help fix. And this is simply not true. This chemical imbalance story was pushed for decades, largely by the drug industry, and it has shaped the public's understanding of depression, but it was never grounded in real science. And all of this has spilt out into the media in the last 10 years after numerous big review articles came out saying that there was no link between low serotonin and depression. And we had really famous psychiatrists, for instance, Ronald Pies. A lot of you probably haven't heard of him. Very well-respected psychiatrist, was the editor of the largest psychiatric trade magazine for a very long time. And he essentially said this when he was pushed about why so many psychiatrists were telling people that these emotional problems were chemical imbalances. He said, and I quote, "In truth, the chemical imbalance notion was always kind of an urban legend, never a theory seriously propounded by well-informed psychiatrists." Now, a lot of people out there looked at this and said, this claim is remarkable because from their impression, they'd been told by the media, by celebrities, by different doctors for decades that depression, anxiety was all due to a chemical imbalance. And so they pushed back against Ronald Pies and they said, well, you're wrong because doctors keep on saying this. And then he shifted his position a little bit to explain why so many doctors still tell patients that these problems are due to chemical imbalances. He essentially said that many psychiatrists say this to patients because it makes them less likely to blame their lives for their problems. And it makes them more likely to accept a medication, and it moves the visits faster. That was an awful admission to make but it's actually a very true one. Because what I've noticed, having been a psychiatrist for 10 years, is that telling someone that they have a chemical imbalance can be a really quick way to kind of, quote unquote, educate them about why they need to take a medication, and it just smooths over the process. And when you have to see 4 patients in an hour to make ends meet because of the current insurance system, you often say these things to essentially get patients out of the office faster. But why is this such a problem? Well, firstly, it's essentially a lie, but it also doesn't really educate patients. It misleads them. It teaches them to think that their suffering is caused by a broken brain and that the solution is a pill. And I've even heard doctors use misleading analogies that are very similar. I've heard them say things to patients who are worried about taking medications like, hey, don't worry, taking an antidepressant, it's just like a diabetic taking insulin. And you wouldn't tell a diabetic not to take insulin, right? But this is different. And then the patient says, oh, well, I guess you're right. I probably should just be a good patient and take my medicine and should look after myself. But depression and diabetes, they're so different. In diabetes, there's one problem easily measured by a lab test. The insulin is low, you raise it up. All of the downstream problems from the low insulin go away because that is the actual problem. But that is not the same with psychiatric problems. That is not what anxiety and depression is about. These are multifactorial issues where your physical health, your relationships, your lifestyle, your sense of purpose and meaning, even like drugs and substances that you're using, all of these things can affect that. And when you try and pretend that it boils down to like a single thing that you can fix with a drug, you're misleading patients and you're actually robbing them of the opportunity to have this better and more well-developed understanding of their mental health that is actually so much more actionable and you can do things to fix rather than just rely on a drug every single day.
So he's sitting there saying they've been lying to us. Oh, but we have reasons, but yet they've been lying. It's insane.
Well, Michelle, let me just tell your viewers, I was in Mayo Clinic and when I got to the end and they couldn't fix me, I was sitting in front of an endocrinologist and she said, Steve, there are 28 chemicals in your stomach and we don't know and we're not so sure that not every single person's is different. And they were saying, well, maybe you just have a chemical imbalance. I think that's just like, well, we don't know what to do. You go home and go to the bone pile. But I think it was a blessing for me to realize. But what I want to tell people is the number one thing that affects the way you think and your depression and anxiety and all these things, the number one thing is immorality. Listen, I want to share this with people. If you have anxiety and you have depression, well, immorality, every time you've been with somebody, every time you've been sexually active with somebody, that person, you guys have become one flesh, is what the Bible says. And it talks about, it means one soul. It means your soul, that means your mind, your will, and your emotions are all connected. I want to tell you a story about a guy that went to prison. He had no family, nothing, and he got paroled early. The day he was paroled, he walked out. He didn't even know he was getting out, and there was a girl waiting on him. How did the girl know? Because the soul tie connection was created by God for you to be married to one woman, and you're connected to all these people. And what happens is it says that a double-minded man or woman is unstable in all their ways. It's because it makes it where you can't think straight. And immorality is the key. And I do believe, Michelle, I told you on the show this morning, I've been in the wilderness for 3 or 4 days hunting and fishing. And I will tell you this, I do believe this is the key for America, is we need a revival of people need to repent, especially of the area of immorality. And you won't hear preachers preach about that. And every other sin's outside the body except that one. And the reason it's not outside the body, it's on the inside, and it affects the way you think. And you've been having all these problems all these years, but you've never, and let me just tell you how to do it. Here's how you pray. You say, dear God, and you ask, bring to remembrance the people I've been with. And you say, I remove my spirit, soul, and body from that person. And you memorize the scripture to put in that place. That's exactly how you do it. God, on this day, I was 16. I was in the back seat. And I'll tell you how you know if you're affected by it. You're sitting in a restaurant. You've been married 20 years to the same lady. And all of a sudden a song comes on or somebody walks by with perfume. And that memory pops back up in your brain. You're still connected and soul tied to that whole thing. And that's how you get rid of depression and anxiety. And I have a free book on joy. The opposite of depression and anxiety is joy, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. So that is the word. That's a sermon for the week, and you can skip church and go fishing.
I love it. I love it. And of course, you can go to Steve's website to get a free copy of that book at SAS-USA or you can go to michellemmooreshow.com. We have the link there too for you as well. Okay, so that's so interesting. There's been a lot of stuff that's going on. We were talking last week, and I don't even remember who it was, but you were like, yeah, they went over to this place, to this farm or whatever it is, ranch in Texas, and they've got swinging there. I wasn't understanding the swinging, just the context of the conversation. I thought, because we were talking about a farmer, I thought that we were talking about some special farming, I don't know, technique or something. So it's now getting brought back up because a viewer of ours, KM Sunshine, tags me on X, and this is crazy. I mean, let's see the video. So this guy's running for office in Texas, and it's now coming out that allegedly this guy and his wife are swingers. Let's see. I guess that's supposed to be her in the video. I don't know. But anyway, so now it's like the Daily Mail. Ron, play that video again. I want to see it again. So was it the Daily Mail that it said on there that is sharing this? So it's so crazy that this is coming out. I've seen his picture before. Let's see it, producer Ron. Yeah, Daily Mail. All right, so let's pause that. And what does that say? Conservative family values sheriff who's running for Congress and wife are swingers, source claims. Okay. Don't know the source, but Daily Mail is reporting this. Don't know who that woman is. That does not look like the wife. So I don't know if that's who they're supposedly or allegedly swinging with. But okay, so I was telling Steve a funny story. So I have, of course, have heard of swinging. I didn't know what it was until about 10 years ago or so. I cannot even believe we're talking about this, by the way. But, you know, it's so funny how things work out, because I had that video and then we're talking about, you know, just the erosion of morality in our country. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, but I had a friend who said, well, you know, your neighborhood is like full blown swingers and, you know, big deal there. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And so she was explaining. Now, I'm not saying that if your neighbor has this, that they're swinging, but they might be. So I'm going to let you in on what I didn't know until that day. So she says, you know, those flags, those little metal like stands that you put in your landscaping by your front door or whatever, they're popular. You see them all over the place. And so they get these little signs that are like fabric-y, I think they're kind of fabric-y. And they have a pineapple on them. She says that's their sign. That they're swingers, and that she was describing parties and stuff. So there are, like, are y'all hearing me? There are parties that people go to that are swingers, like couples, and they're swapping spouses apparently. Like, this is crazy. Now, my friend said something about a bowl, and I was telling Steve, I don't remember the details, but something about a bowl and you put the keys in the bowl. I don't get the keys thing, so I don't really understand. But my point is, though, there's parties that are doing this and neighborhoods and stuff. So I'm just saying, like, this is a thing. And so who was it? What was the context of it for last week, Steve? I don't remember what you were talking about exactly. So there's like a farm in Texas. Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
And they were swinging?
Yeah. RFK went to that farm. That was the subject. The subject is that it was a sovereignty ranch, and it's down there in Bandera, Texas, down there. And I know for a fact, because I had a friend that went to the ranch. He didn't know that that's what they were doing, but they do the swinging at night. And so RFK, whenever RFK was coming to my place, I was checked up and down. The Secret Service came here 4 days in a row. Listen, they know everything about you. They know what's going on that ranch. You would not, as a political person, you would know that was going on, and you would not associate yourself with that. You wouldn't. But you wouldn't do it.
So weird. I'm not old, just older too, says so weird. And I hear more and more about it. People in your life that you would never believe.
That's right.
Upside down pineapple. I have not been told that it's upside down, that it's just a pineapple. Now, I didn't go driving through the neighborhood or anything, but yeah, I just thought that the signs were popular. I didn't know. We had a
Well,
sheriff name.
let me tell you something interesting about that sheriff. So I don't know this guy personally, but if you go roll back when President Trump was elected the first time and the big border fight and all that stuff, this guy is a big Steve Bannon guy. This guy did all the videos. I mean, everybody knows the sheriff, who this is. And let me just tell you what this does. And Michelle, we talked about this. What we don't want your listeners to do is go home and be paralyzed from all the information, because let's face it, the overload, the Epstein files, all this. This sheriff is known nationwide. This is not by accident. This is being blown out. It's not by accident that all this is done. I actually believe he even had a child that was killed, but he was a border sheriff, and he was on Steve Bannon all the time reporting his stuff and all this stuff and everything. You know how they do. They stage all these people up that they're great, 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 great. And then all of a sudden, it acts as you. And that's how, the pastors are in on this stuff, the child trafficking, all this stuff. And it's to paralyze you. It's to get you to think. But you need to talk to the creator of the universe every single day. You need to make sure that you have joy. You need to make sure and try to live outside the matrix best you can, because that is the design of what is going on, is to paralyze you and for you to not function in life.
That's right. I was thinking about it. I was telling you, I was thinking about it over the weekend that, you have a lot of people that are focused on information, but they're not really thinking about the wonder, wondering, going out and wondering about things, and kind of, just searching out stuff that is more wholesome and good and pure, and out in the wilderness and in your backyard, and, just being in the sun and spending that time, used to be a big deal to play games. Even you hear a lot of people not really playing games anymore. They're busy on their phones and not really interacting with each other. And so our kids come home, and the first thing I say is, how was your day? And I listen to, what's going on. I know what everybody's doing today, and what they've got going on, and what their goals are, and, which son has got this going on and that going on. And, it's a big deal in our home to have that conversation, to be communicating. And so we've got to make sure that we're, communicating and building those relationships, and not all about just whatever's going on in the world, because a lot of that is just one big fat distraction. We had a viewer who said that they had a sheriff neighbor that they had that were swingers in North Carolina. So this is not a new thing. I mean, I'm sure there are some viewers right now whose minds are blown. So this is why we covered it, so that, you don't get, kind of thrown off course here and not see it coming. Pierre's mom one says, I thought the pineapple is a sign of welcoming. Well, they always take everything and twist it and dement it. So, because I thought the same thing. And so Fly Girl 61, I just thought a lot of people like the pineapple thing. I didn't know. And by the way, it was an affluent neighborhood, golf course, all that. And she just lived down the street in another nice neighborhood, and just happened to say, well, your neighborhood is real big in the swinger thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I laughed at her at first, and then she's like dead serious and went on to tell me all this stuff. Fly Girl 61 says, I've always heard for years that the pineapple on or by the door is a red flag for a swingers home. See? Yep. Didn't know. KM Sunshine says this is absolutely disturbing, right? Yeah, that's exactly what these government authorities are involved in. I was once cautioned, Fly Girl 61 says, about a particular church to stay away because the congregation was full of swingers. What? Oh, my word. Just when I thought I've heard it all. No Nonsense Netta says, geez, I'm learning something new every day. Yeah, just stick with me. It's so crazy. My garden flag says 1776, LOL, right?
Everybody that went and bought the pineapple deal is going outside ripping that thing up, But folks, listen, let's forget about the government for a minute. Our nation is sick. Our nation is sick. The child stuff, the pastors, this swinging thing. I know it's hard to believe the guy in the wilderness like me. I literally went into the wilderness for 20 something years and didn't come out and say this stuff because I said all this stuff way back, and they thought I was crazy, But that's the issue. is that our nation is crumbling, and the number one thing connected to immorality is finances. And let's face it, the nation's finances and people's finances are crumbling. I mean, if you look at Uncle Sam and Uncle Sam being immoral and the nation's immoral, we're going to crumble as a nation financially.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so Die Laughing says I need to sanitize my ears and eyes. Gross. If you can swing him, you can keep him. Right? I'm out. That's a great one, Die Laughing. Grammy says I have ladybug lawn flags. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Texas Ginger says, OMG, I am dying. I didn't know what the upside down. I don't know that it's always an upside down pineapple. The upside down part's the first time I've heard this. Maybe it may vary. I don't know. I think they didn't need to put it upside down in our neighborhood. I don't know. Until my son and his wife turned my pineapple upside down in my grocery cart when they took me to the store, I about died. So they knew. I didn't know. Okay, here we go. I'm not old, just older too, says Michelle. They pick a set of keys out of the bowl, and that's who you hook up with. Okay, I knew there had to be something with the keys. I just couldn't remember. Okay, so everybody puts their keys at the party, I guess, because I remember her saying it in the foyer, like, toward the front door when you walk in. But okay, that connects some dots for me, because I was like, I couldn't remember. I was telling you that, Steve, where I was like, something with the keys, but I don't really know why. Okay, Deborah West says my brother-in-law and his wife were swingers. My husband and I were shocked and appalled when we found out. Yeah. It's just sick. Now I need to drive past our city council members' houses and see if anything is going on. Grammy goes to the city council meetings, and so in her area, that's a riot. Yes, you need to go. You need to see, because no telling. I'm not old, just older too, says I worked with a nurse who was a swinger. Everyone knew it. My jaw dropped down to my knees. Like, how does everybody know? Does she come to work and tell everybody? Like, I don't know. There's just something about that. Like, how do they know? She has to be the one telling. So anyways, just, yeah. Okay. Talking about the degeneracy that's going on in our country. I think this is a form of degeneracy. You haven't seen this yet, Steve, but let's take a look at people that come here for free money in homes. And by the way, just so you know, it's not free. We're the ones that are actually paying for it. A little inconvenient fact here, but let's take a look.
I'm here for my money and my free house. It's my dream.
It's my dream. Steve, have you got a dream?
Yeah, then that's not it. But I will tell you this, though, in the Bible, in the Bible, it talks about a nation that is falling. It says another will come in and live in the house that you built, and another will reap your vineyards. It does say that. And it says the enemies will come from all sides, and you will be, just read Deuteronomy, the last part of Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 29, especially 28, 29. Read those. The rules are in there. I don't, last week I was telling people, listen, number one, I teach people 3-dimensional healing, spirit, soul, and body. And I teach that. But so many people have junk in their house. If you have books or things like this, well, this is the part of it. If you have people or family members that are swingers, you need to tell them, hey, you need to repent and move on. But let me just say this too about to your listeners. Something I've learned in the last 10 years is I'm learning that people that are connected to me that are with me and know me and honor my ways, they are my real brothers.
That's right.
Those that speak into my life and share things into my life. Now I'm old enough now that I do the opposite. I speak into, those are my real fathers. Those are the real, and those that are ladies that are in my life that are connected to me and give me mature lessons. Those are the real mothers. So I'm going to encourage your listeners. You don't have to be related to people in order to be in a connective relationship of mother, father, daughter, or something like that. And if you will do that, you will grow and mature so much more. And let me just tell you about your real brothers and sisters and fathers. They're going to tell you the truth of things that will hurt.
That's right. Because they love you. It's kind of like I relate it to, like, God loved me too much to leave me where I was. And so that's when, he took me down forgiveness and all the different things that needed to happen. And so I look back and go, thank God, he loved me too much to leave me where I was, right? And so it's the same thing. We speak the truth to one another, and that is where God is. God says, when you search for the truth, I'm in the truth because I am the truth. And that's just a fact. And so you make a great point. And I've come to realize, I think that God really has us all related to people that just grow our character. That's what it's about. And so that's why we got to have, each other to be able to also, just have some sanity in our house. And so some of us, okay, what about the guy now we don't have this video, but what about the guy from Canada that got arrested? This guy ends up getting arrested. Like, the police pull him over. They say that he was like observed at a coffee shop or something by a woman that was a doctor. She ends up, Canada has gone full blown crazy. And so they have so much going on. But did you see that video, Steve, that I'm talking about, where the guy, he records himself and the police try to get him to stop recording himself? And he's like, I haven't had the opportunity to come in and be evaluated. What are you talking about? And this doctor within Canada had deemed him to be whatever, unstable or whatever. And so, like the week before, when she would happen to be in the same coffee shop with him, I'm not kidding, y'all, like a week or so before. And so, and so he gets pulled over. They're wanting to take him in right then. And it's my understanding that they took him in right then, and he's still hasn't been released yet. And this has been over a week. But one of the things that grabbed my attention, and this is why, and I'll go back and I'll get that video, but I think I know how to get it. But here's what got me, that made me kind of raise a red flag, is they said that they had talked with family. That's all they said. Talked with family. And they made that comment. And I watched another version of that video with somebody else did a little take on it. And I thought, there it is again. Talked with family. So what does that mean exactly? Talked with family. Now, I want you to think about, since COVID, okay? How many of you have family members? Think about it. How many of you have family members that don't think like you? They think that getting to, pokey was a great thing. And they think you're crazy because you voted for Trump and you like the country and, you don't hate men. And, I could keep going on down the list. And so what about just because you believe that Jesus was the son of our Lord and Savior? How many of your family members think you crazy for that? So if the police just showed up because some doctor at a coffee house witnessed something that she thought, you see where I'm going with all of this? This is getting crazy.
Well, Michelle, I think history is fixing to repeat itself. Most people don't really, I was really fond of a lot of history, but there used to be tons and tons of insane asylums all across the United States. And these insane asylums, what if they were the same people and that they were arrested because they said they were crazy and they were the ones that were bucking the system? And I think that part of these, we about all these centers that are being bought and built. And there's one there in Nashville that's bought a warehouse and all this stuff is going to be these detention centers and all this. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing about it is people do say I'm crazy. When I say that you shouldn't be teaching transgender and stuff like that in schools. And when I say those things, you realize it's now you're the insane one. You're the insane one. I don't want my tax dollars. You're the one that's insane. And that I think that we're fixing to go into this. And the only way to escape this is understand what order and out of order is. And the way that I write order and out of order is I use God's word. And let me just say this too about this. All this is happening about the Bible right now, that this is missing. And it was so much misinformation and all that. And maybe so. Maybe King James jacked around with it and made it up. But listen, there's enough hidden truth there in the deeper parts of the scriptures, understanding what the deeper things of. So, for instance, where it talks about casting your pearls before swine, that's the subject, the surface message on that of casting your pearls of swines is like, if you're talking about deeper things like about the tabernacle of Moses, or you're talking about the millennial kingdom, or you're talking about ruling and reigning, you're talking about being well and those things. That's the surface level. But casting your pearls before swine, the deeper meaning of that is men, that you don't cast your sperm or your semen into a place that is out of order. Because what happens in a swine, if you do, I mean, you just throw garbage into a swine, they just destroy it. And that's what the deeper meaning of casting your pearls before swine is. Don't put yourself and put your semen out, because basically when God created male and female, he made them like him. And the reason immorality in these things is so significant is you become like God. You do. And how you become like God is you're able to create another living soul. When you get together with another woman or a man and you get pregnant, you just became like God, because you just created another human being, and he set it up that way. That's why it's so important that you don't cast your pearls before swines, and you don't swing, you don't do these things. This is so significant. The change of America needs to come from people watching this right here, and you just share with people. You didn't tell people. Yeah. Listen, they may call you crazy, and they may these insane asylum, and I'm going to say that that's what they're going to do with these AI surveillance system. That's the way this psychiatric evaluation. They're going to say, "Hey, Michelle and Steve, they're nut jobs," because what they do is they have a moral compass, and they can't say DEI is wrong. You can't say transgender is wrong. You can't say all these things.
Okay, so we just had a guest on last week. Okay, point taken, Steve. This couple lives in California. They're originally from the Ukraine. They came to America thinking, years ago, like 20 years ago almost, that this was going to be a better life for them. They're hard workers, great people, conservative views. She said, we didn't know anything about this left and right, blue and red. We didn't know anything about any of that. She goes, but, and just talking with her, you can tell they're conservative. Okay, so in the state of California, because they're 15-year-old, they've said, look, we think you should wait. Let's focus on getting you a driver's license and some positive things, some good things. And the 15-year-old girl wants to go and get testosterone treatments. They're like, we think that's a little young. You need to really, make sure this is what you want to do. That's such a big thing. But, they allowed the short haircuts that are more masculine and all the different things. But that's where they drew the line. They tried for years to be supportive. They took her to counseling, took her all these different things, right? And now they're the ones that are being labeled as, I forget what the state of California calls it, but it's something crazy where there's like a list, a registry, and they're now considered like abusive. They're abusive. They're child abusers. And the daughter has been removed from the home for over a year now. I mean, it's complete insanity. And if they wanted to work with children, or if they want to apply to get a position in the state of California, their names are going to show up on a child abuser list, not a pedophile list, but it's a different list. And it's a California list that is a registry that the state has that has deemed them abusers. Is this not insanity? It's a complete insanity. It's exactly what you were talking about.
Well, Michelle, I'm good about writing plans, and here's what I'm going to do. Over the next couple of weeks, I am going to write down what a real conservative is, and I will have a full list, and it'll have everything is it used to. Please don't say you're conservative, and that's where it's going to start out. Don't call yourself conservative if this, and I'm going to give the order, and I'm going to give what is out of order, and I'm going to put that in there for your listeners, and I'm going to have that. It'll be uploaded on Michelle Moore. And we'll just say, if you want to be a real conservative, that, and you can look at it first, Michelle, and tell me where I need to change or add or whatever. But the thing about it is, biblical order is where the order comes from, actually.
Yeah, and we'll cover it on a show here too, by the way. Okay, so producer Ron has found the video that I was referring to, and I know many of you are going, what is going on? So it says, I have not seen anybody talking about what's going on in Canada right now. This man was pulled over and told by police that he had to come with them because a psychiatrist labeled him certifiable. No paperwork, no rule of law, just a doctor saying that if he didn't come with him, well, I don't think it was a doctor. It was actually a police officer. He's got one on each side, but they're referring to a doctor saying that if he didn't come with him right then and there, that he would be arrested. I think he was being not necessarily arrested. But he was being taken against really what he wanted to do. You'll see this. The fact that a government could do this is terrifying. And notice also how they bring up that they talked with family. So red flag. Let's take a listen to this video.
Okay. And this is Dr. Emery. He's a resident psychiatrist, senior resident. He's on a rotation with the CAR 87. We're part of a program that includes Vancouver Coastal Health and the Vancouver Police. Okay? And what we do is we go to people when there's different reasons that come up. Every case is a little different, and we go to people to see them where they are. Especially if there's been issues with trying to find them and talk to them. So in your case, I think you were certified under the Mental Health Act just, I don't know how long ago, but like maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Were you aware of that? Dr. Taylor saw you in a cafe. She didn't certify you. I think you filmed part of it. And then she spoke with your family, got some more information, and you're going to have to turn that off.
So just one sec. What the officer just told me is that you and I can set up a meeting and we can chat then. So why don't we do that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not turning the camera off. I have a legal right to keep the camera on. If you don't want to make the appointment now, we can do it at another time. But that's what the officer just asked that we do. So why don't we do that?
So I'm going to certify you under the Mental Health Act. We're going to bring you to hospital, do testing on you, and you're going to talk to a psychiatrist in a controlled environment because we don't believe that you're going to attend an appointment.
I won't attend. I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
So he's certified.
I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment. What is going on? I was never given a psych eval or nothing. He just looked at me and said, "You're certified."
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know why, but it's up to the doctor. So if you.
But no, he didn't even give me an eval. He just looked at me and said, "I'm certified, man."
I get that.
Please consider what you're doing, and please think about the fact that I'm more than happy to come in for an appointment. I'm happy to go through and do everything properly. Okay, I've been completely compliant with everything.
Yes, you've been really good with me, Nicholas. But listen, that's his call, and unfortunately, we can't go back on that. You have to get checked out by a doctor.
You're interacting with me at a very regular.
Wait till Dr. Fauci's the one that writes the rules for that, or the WEF or the WHO. Wait till they write the rules, and this is the way it's going to go down. And the thing about it is, they're going to mentally evaluate you. And let's face it, if you don't have some rebellious blood in you of people doing wrong to children or things that are out of order, yeah, that's a problem. And they know that's a problem. And used to in America, masculinity was not a bad thing. And a lot of men just took care of things on their own and didn't allow this nonsense to go on. But this DEI, this was part of it. DEI was introduced so well. And Ghislaine Maxwell's father is the one that wrote the books for all that junk and put all that through. George Soros' son-in-law is some of that has the books and went through. They introduced all that and gave all these schools money. And that's the thing is, too, if they get your children introduced to this nonsense, mentally, they become unstable. And that's what this guy here, what he's doing is he probably spoke or said something against it. But this is going to come to America. This is no doubt. It already has happened in America before, and it's going to happen again.
And who exactly does everyone think they're going to be coming after? It's not going to be the ones that are all for transgender and DEI and all of that. It's going to be those of us that are believers, those of us who aren't buying it, those of us that are speaking up. You got your mama bears and you got your manly men, and they're not going to like that. And so if they can't take the guns, they'll go on ahead. Well, they'll take the guns. I mean, I was looking at what No Nonsense Netta said. It says, short explanation. Anyone can call police and say that you were suicidal or danger to yourself or others, and they'll come and take you to the institution or jail and take your guns. So, anybody can accuse you of whatever, doesn't make it true. So just Pierre's mom says, wow, he stayed so calm. I know, because somebody would have gotten an earful if that had been me. And so Charisse Rose says, wow, that's crazy. He was calm and had his senses. Yeah. And I mean, it's just completely crazy. I'm hearing that he's still being detained. So don't know, but that's what I'm hearing. And so we'll see. Steve, thank you so much for being here today. It's definitely been very interesting. I can't wait to see what you end up creating when it comes to being a conservative in the United States of America. All right. We'll see you soon. All right. A couple of more things. We got an email from, I think it was KM Sunshine, asking about how to do the pain poultice. So look, anything that you buy from Godly Granny, the website is great detail on directions and instructions. But I did look it up. And so producer Ron, if you go to the pain poultice, there's a storage and directions, and there you go. So you apply a thick layer to the affected area, cover with a cloth, a gauze, or a plastic wrap. We say 20 to 45 minutes. And then you can rinse it with warm water. We've had viewers and customers who have gotten in the shower and washed it off that way, which is probably what I would do. Repeat daily or as needed. Many of you have reported that you didn't need to do it again, that it pulled out the inflammation. It was really great. For best results, apply after a warm shower or use a heating pad to open the pores. This allows the minerals to penetrate more deeply and work more effectively. Okay, so I hope that helps. And then also we received a customer comment today. It made Jocelina's day. You know, I've got a future daughter-in-law who is engaged to my first son. I almost said number one son. But he knows he's really number three. He told me my third favorite child. We had a discussion about it today. So would you please tell Miss Jocelina, thank you for my mystery box. I absolutely love it. And there was something, I was almost out of makeup remover. There were a few things I didn't have. So it was so good. It's a great way to be able to try some new things. And so it was so sweet. Jocelina I call Jocelyn Jocelina, but her name is Jocelyn. She just laughs when I call her Jocelyn. Jocelina! And so now we got everybody calling her Jocelina, and she thinks it's a riot. And so anyways, but she is engaged to my oldest son. I have two sons, for those of you that don't know, and they're engaged with plans to get married this September. So I'm going to officially have a daughter-in-law. She's already, just great, and I just love her. And so I'm very excited about her being part of the family officially, but we already see her as part of the family, so it's all good. All right, well, we hope that you've enjoyed today's show. Don't forget about tomorrow, the Franklin cover-up. It's going to be a good one. If you haven't seen it, chewy. That's a whole thing in itself. And don't forget tonight, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time is the end of our sale of the new releases, extra 5% off plus whatever coupon code that you might have. So it's a really good deal. Y'all are loving the tinctures. Oh my word. And of course the whipped tallow is going to be a big hit. Y'all are going to love that whipped tallow. Smells amazing. And so I hope that you all have a great night. I will see you right here Thursday, which is our next time live. So we'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Ever read the ingredients on your everyday products and think, wait, is this shampoo or a science experiment? If your lotion needs a translator, a lab coat, and a warning label, it might be time for a change. Godly Granny products are made with purpose, love, and ingredients you can actually recognize. No mystery chemicals, no toxins, just clean, simple goodness. The way Granny would have wanted, because your skincare shouldn't require a chemistry degree. From shampoo, lotion, skincare, and all natural health remedies, Godly Granny has everything your family needs. It's no wonder we have over 1,200 5-star reviews from our amazing customers to prove it. Join the families just like yours who've switched to Godly Granny. Visit godlygranny.com and sign up for our emails to receive a special discount code for 10% off your first order, plus exclusive updates and information on newly released products.
Mr. Wonderful here. I back businesses I trust with my money. Like Universal Coin and Bullion, America's gold expert. They've been trusted by collectors and investors for decades with award-winning education, industry-leading specialists, and a reputation built on transparency and results. If you're serious about investing in precious metals, call Universal Coin and Bullion today.
Hi, I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the inventor of the Wave Watch, the world's first frequency therapy watch. It features over 1,100 targeted frequencies combined into 150 playlists for ease of use. These sounds are acoustical and they move through your body, through your skin and your bones. You don't necessarily have to hear it. As each frequency goes through, it can be realigning, revitalizing, reconnecting, and even rebalancing your body all the way to the cellular level. So that's why we have so many testimonies for aches, ADD and ADHD, allergies, colds and flu, dental, emotions, headaches, joints, kidney stones, nerves, organs, skin health, swelling, tremors, vagus nerve, and so many more. Use this code for $100 off when you purchase the Wave Watch. Thanks for learning about frequencies, using them, and supporting the Wave Watch.
For Michelle's social media links, go to michellemooreshow.com.